Hi chairde, is mis ceisteanna agus fáilte ascadí Gaeilge Unlocked. In this video we're going to be discussing what an urú is. Okay, so in this episode I have 3 goals for you. So by the end of this video you should know what an urú is, where it goes, and what reasons there are to give an urú. So what is an urú? In Irish, an urú is a letter that hides the first letter sound in a word. We have 6 urús. The 6 urús are M, G, N, D, B and BH. They go in front of one other letter and they hide the sound. So the urú goes in front of a letter. So for example, the urú M goes in front of a word that starts with a B. So for example, brogue. That's not going to sound like brogue because the B becomes silent as the M is hiding it. So it would sound like mrogue. It's the same thing with G and cat. G goes onto a word beginning with the letter C and it doesn't sound like cat, it sounds like gat. Urú means eclipse, that's what it translates to, and that means to hide. So think of an urú like it's hiding the next letter. So where does the urú go? Only these letters can take an urú. Now I repeat, only these letters can take an urú. Any other letters don't have an urú. So B, C, D, T, G, P and F are the only letters that will ever take an urú. You might have seen that the letters A, O, U, I and E get an N fleishcín or an N dash. This is technically not an urú because it's not hiding the first sound. However, it is kind of like a copycat rule. Wherever an urú goes, the N fleishcín or the N dash rule usually applies as well. Not all the time, but usually. So for example, our father in Irish is our nather. How do I remember which urú goes with which letter? Well, there's actually little rhyme. My brother got caught not doing dishes tonight. Nobody gets blueberry pie before he finishes. If you can remember that line, you can remember exactly which urú goes with which letter. The urú M goes on B, so for example, mrogue. G goes on to C, gat. N goes on to D, nurse. D goes on to T for jock. N goes on to G, nardine. B goes on to P, bean. And BH goes on to F, bhuineog. Another way to remember these is actually make the sound of the letter and then see which letter is so similar to it. So for example, the word bu, you have to make an M sound before you make a bu sound. K and g, they're the most similar sounds. N and d, you have to make an n sound before you make a d sound. That's where the urús actually come from. They're nasally versions of the letters. So there are 7 reasons to use an urú. Number 1 is to show who owns things. So when you're using the words our, your plural, and their. So is é sin our jock, that's our house. Tógadh amach ver goplewer, take out your copies. Ná gcuid a bhón, don't steal their phone. Number 2, you use an urú after the preposition I, meaning in. Tom imachoni I malia clia, I live in Dublin. Tom awullig I bean, my stomach is in pain. Will to I nairira, are you in seriousness or are you serious? The third reason to use an urú is after most prepositions plus the word the. So on, egg on, leis on, fuin, riv on or tríd on. So déag sé on phone, he looked at or on the phone. Leabhar faoin character, speak about the character. Tá Sean leis an bríomhaide, Sean is with the principal. Number 4, you give an urú after the numbers seacht, ucht, ní and de, so 7, 8, 9 and 10. Tá seacht mróg a gum, I have 7 shoes. Bíonn ucht náusa ag an géili, there does be 8 dances at the céilí. And tháinig jet bíbere a rare, 10 pipers came last night. Number 5, you use an urú after the question word on or knock. So on will cadagum, do I have permission? Knock noonan on shoppa egani, doesn't the shop close at 9? And on guri to orte a or shil, will you put orte e on? Number 6, We use the urú after the words go, mura, sulla and da only when they're coming before verbs. So for example, ceapam go maith sé tau, I think that it will be fine. Glán go sciupaí sulla dagan sé, clean quickly before he comes. And da maintse sever, if I were rich. That one's a little bit more complex for the older learners or for people who are a bit more experienced with Irish. And finally, the seventh time that we use an urú is after the tishal ginaduk ulra, or the plural genitive case. If you're not in 5th or 6th year, or you're not a very confident learner, this might be a bit way over your heads, and that's just fine. So lehris na galini, the girls' toilet, agreitach na vaibana, resolving the problems, and trasna na dunta, across the waves. Okay, chairde, so sin muid, that's us at the end of the video. So what did you learn? You should now know that an urú is a specific letter that hides the first letter in a word. So it's not a random letter, it's always pairs. They always come in the exact same pattern. There are 6 urú that go on 7 letters. Vowels do not take an urú, but they do take an n fleshkeen or an n dash. And there are 7 reasons to use an urú, and I hope that you understand them now. Gur míle maigi chairde agus feice mé sibh sa céad físeán eile. I'll see you in the next video. Gur maigi.